In this week's Torah portion, Parshas Ki Tisa, we read about the unfortunate sin with the golden calf. Moses went up on Mount Sinai for 40 days to study the Torah, learn the Word of God, to bring down to the rest of the Jewish people. And due to a miscalculation by the nation, when he would return, they ran and they made themselves an idol out of gold, a golden calf. And to Moshe's dismay, he came down, he saw them praying and dancing around the calf. He smashed 2 tablets of the 10 Commandments. And there's a number of interesting points to point out in this whole incident. Firstly, the mistake of the people, that with a small miscalculation, they rushed. They rushed to make a very, very rash decision of building a golden calf, building an idol. Moses came down a few hours later, which means we know, the commentaries say they are 6 hours off in their calculation. They would have waited a few minutes, everything would have been fine. And one of the lessons we learn from here is not to jump and to do something rash, not to make a rash decision, make a big decision without thinking it through, without letting time sit. A lot of times the emotions are riding high and we jump to do things that we shouldn't. And that's one lesson. But on the other hand, Moses also, one can argue, also did a rash decision in throwing and smashing the 10 Commandments. Why didn't he wait to see what was going on? And the answer, the difference is that Moses is doing it for the honor of God. And when you feel something and you want to honor God, you could jump ahead and do so. When it deals with the honor of God, something that we know God would be proud of us, a good deed, an act of kindness, don't wait around, jump and do it. When it comes to doing things which may have a negative connotation, building an idol, selecting a new leader to replace someone else, these are times that we need to calculate decisions and not jump into doing something that may be a big mistake. We'll now continue with the singing of Lechadodi, the song we sing Friday night, written by the great Rabbi of Shlomo Alkabetz in the late 1400s. Lechadodi lekras kala pnei Shabbos nekabela lechadodi lekras kala pnei Shabbos nekabela Shamor v'zachor v'dibur echad Hishmiyanu kel hamyuchad Hashem echad Ushma ho'yachad L'shemo seferes v'l'sila Chadodi l'kras kala Pnei Shabbos nekabela L'kras Shabbos l'chuvin elcha Ki hi mekor haberacha Meirosh mikedem nesucha Sov ma'aseh b'machshavot chila Lechadodi l'kras kala Pnei Shabbos nekabela Mikdash melech Ir melucha kumitzi mitoch ha'afecha Rav lach sheves b'yemekabacha V'hu yachamol alayichem la'lechadodi l'kras kala Pnei Shabbos nekabela Hisnari me'afar kumi Livshi bigdei sefartei chalmi Al yad ben yishai beis halachmi Karva el nafshi gi yahala lechadodi l'kras kala Pnei Shabbos nekabela Hisahoreri Kiva horechu miyori Uri shir daberi Gevod Hashem alayich nigla Lechadodi l'kras kala Pnei Shabbos nekabela V'hayu l'mshisa shahosayich V'rachaku kameh v'halayich Yosis alayich elokayich Kim sozcha sanal kala Lechadodi l'kras kala Pnei Shabbos nekabela yamin usmal tifrotzi v'yez Hashem daritzi al yad ben yishai beit oloch mikarva el nafshi yala lecha dodi lekras kala Pnei Shabbos nekabela bawi b'shalom Atares ba'ala gamberino v'tzahala Tochem uneyam segula bawi kala lecha dodi lekras kala Pnei Shabbos nekabela. We're now 3 weeks away from the holiday of Purim, so we'll begin talking a little bit about the Purim story. And the first part of the Purim story is that it really started 9 years prior to the actual story. What happened 9 years prior to the story of Mordechai and Esther, as we'll discuss in the weeks to come? There was a party. There was a new king of Persia, King Achashverosh, who controlled many of the land, 127 continent countries, or lands, or cities in the area. And he made a big party to celebrate. He invited everyone to come. And he invited the Jewish people to come as well. And they debated, should we go? Should we not go? And they decided, many of the rabbis decided, it's important for us to go to show support for the king. And they went. And yes, it was true, there was kosher food there, and there was kosher wine there. But the atmosphere was certainly not a positive atmosphere. It should not have been an atmosphere where they should have been included in. And one person, Mordechai, at that time said you shouldn't go, and they laughed at him, they ridiculed him. And even at the time when it happened, they didn't realize the mistake. Because sometimes we make decisions, as we mentioned a few minutes ago, we jump into conclusions, we don't think things through, and we say, you know what, the king would want us to go to this party. And maybe they're right on some level, the king would want us to come, but you have to think it through. Are there other ways to make the king happy? Are there other ways to show support? And this sin was a sin which caused the whole story to unfold, with Haman and Haman becoming a leader and trying to wipe out the Jewish nation until the Jewish people, they finally repented and they changed their ways and they realized the mistake that they made. But the lesson from here is to always listen to others for advice. Don't think that we know all the decisions, and sometimes even if the advice is not what we want to hear on our own, if it's coming from a good place, a good source, it's probably the right thing to do. We're now finished with the singing of Adon Olam. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'Terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Li'es Nasa B'Chevso Kol Azai Mehelech Shemo Nikra V'Yacharei Kechlos HaKol Levahado Yimloch Nora V'Haya V'Hoveh V'Yiyeh B'Sifara V'Hu Echad V'Yein Sheni Hamshilo Lehachvira V'li Reishis V'li Sachlis V'lo Hod V'Hamizra V'hu Keli V'chai Goali V'tzor Chevli V'yes Nasa V'hu Nisi Umanosli Minas Kosi B'yom Ekra B'yahado Avkid Ruchi V'yes Ishan V'yahira V'yem Ruchi G'v'yasi Ado Shemli V'lo V'ira. Have a happy and healthy week, a great weekend, a great Shabbat. We'll see everybody next week.